all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist-recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
What's going on, people? How are y'all today? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy 2020.
Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Happy Martin Luther King birthday.
Happy Boxing Day.
Happy January. This is the No Fruit Podcast. I am Maurice.
And I'm Kafa.
And we thank you for all your love and support. This is the beginning of our second season, y'all. And we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. And we hope to continue this thing going strong. We really, really do. And y'all can get fit with us. And what does that mean, Kav? Getting fit?
That's how you connect with us. You get fit. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Where can you listen to us on?
Oh, all over the place. You're listening to us now. Continue doing it.
What platforms are we on? Do you know?
You know them, baby. You go ahead and tell them.
So you can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud. We're pretty much on most platforms for you to get your podcasts and other music from. And that's where you can hear us. Keep in mind, we are the No Fruit Podcast. So, I know we start off by saying Happy New Year to everyone. And we just want to know, what are your traditions, some of your habits when it comes down to bringing in the new year?
Mm-hmm.
So, Kav, did you have any traditions or anything?
For bringing in the new year, being New Year's Eve, I did not. As a youngster, again, I was not a church goer. I didn't start going to church until I was in high school. So once high school, again, traveling late at night, that wasn't what I was doing by myself. But as I got older, I did attend services on New Year's Eve. On New Year's Day growing up, we would go to Big Mama's house and enjoy foods and whatever that may have been. Again, some of the traditional foods in the African-American culture, of course, were your favorite, Maurice, those black-eyed peas and your collard greens, those things that you really, really enjoy. So, yeah, I do remember having, some of those things.
I hope that y'all understand that she's not telling the truth. I mean, I think Black Eyed Peas has the most unattractive taste ever in life. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sorry, but it does not tickle my fancy.
Okay, but you eat them.
I eat them because of, as some people might say, traditions.
Mm-hmm. What about yourself, Maurice? What were some of your traditions, or what did you do to bring in the new year, and how did you celebrate the new year? Oh, let me just one more thing. I'm sorry. Yeah. Some of the things that I did do growing up on my father's side, we would go to the Mummers Parade every year.
Oh, okay.
So that's what my tradition was, and that was before high school. So elementary school through middle school, you could find me somewhere along the Mummers Parade.
Which was not normally a thing for me.
Okay.
And we wouldn't necessarily talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anyone really that was going to the Mummers Parade.
Right. But
You
now
would
you
see it
do.
on TV, but yeah, I mean, I know quite a few people that go now.
Okay.
You know, but at that particular time, I didn't hear about too many people going to the parade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, keep in mind that some of my New Year's Eve traditions were, my responsibilities were to clean up the house, make sure that the house was not dirty,
Mm-hmm.
you know, bring in a new year. Some of it was getting my clothes together, because I know we was going to New Year's Eve service that night. A lot of times, being a youngster, I was an acolyte / altar boy. So, yes, I was there carrying a cross or carrying a candle, doing leading and the processional or the recessional.
Okay.
The occasional times we had to sing, especially if we were a guest in another church, if we had some type of joint service, whatnot. So those were some of my New Year's Eve traditions.
Okay.
Also understanding that my mom was going to cook greens and black eyed peas and things like that. Now, what I just thought that we were just going to church,
Okay.
and then not necessarily understanding the procedure or the real history of going to church.
Right.
Not until I was a little older,
Mm-hmm.
not until I was in my mid-20s ish, did I really know what was going on.
Right.
Now, have I been in church where people have said, "Watchman"?
What time is it?
Yes. Did I truly understand what that was about? No, I did not.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were just, checking down at the clock, like,
Okay.
time down, making sure that you're on your knees when you, at midnight,
Mm-hmm.
praying, the new year in. And I did not realize at that time that it was about people waiting for January the 1st, 1863, when people were to become free.
Okay.
Now, in that, as we're just learning,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole nother piece of that. And see, I thought it was just a celebration, the joy of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also for slaves, the preparation for Heartbreak Day.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all know what Heartbreak Day is? Kaf, you know what Heartbreak Day is?
Well, I mean, I've read the article, but if you would have asked me prior to me reading the article, I would have probably said it's the day after Valentine's Day.
No, I would say Heartbreak Day is the day before.
The day before Valentine's Day.
Right. But it's also known as Hiring Day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the article Kaf is referring to is where, Kaf?
It's in the Time magazine. It popped up sometime in December. And it just gives some history about January 1st and what it meant to slaves or enslaved Americans. Enslaved Americans at that particular time, back in the early before Emancipation Proclamation and all of those things had occurred, January 1st was a scary time for them.
Right.
Again, enslaved persons were looked at as property. So if a landowner, a slave master owed debt, they had to pay off debt by the end of the year. And then therefore, if you were property and the slave owner decided to sell you in lieu of whatever he owed, then you would be moving and packing your bags and moving on to another plantation, to another owner.
Right.
So the article talks a little bit about how African Americans, enslaved persons, came together on December 31st to pray that whoever they're moving to that the person will be kinder, or be, kind to them and not be a mean slave owner. They're also praying that maybe they wouldn't move because they've had family while they've been here on that particular plantation. Because again, you'd be stripped, your whole family's not going.
Right.
It could just be you.
Right.
So your children will be left behind, your spouse will be left behind, your other extended family will be left behind as you go off to.
Or the other side of that, where you're staying.
Right.
And
somebody else is leaving.
Right. So in this particular article, which was fascinating, where they talked about how this lady watched all 7 of her kids get shipped off.
Wow.
And how heartbreaking is that? To watch your kids on New Year's Day to be shipped off. She thought maybe it was going to be, a few, but not all of them.
All of them.
Literally all of them. So what type of life is that? How should you feel in a situation like that?
So I know we all enter the new year happy, and we say Happy New Year, and we're all joyful, and we're blowing horns, and we're celebrating. And I think we've turned it a little bit in the Christian standpoint of, hey, we're celebrating life. Right. We have one more day to get it right with God. But when you look at it historically, because watch night service only really occurs within the African American tradition.
Right.
So this article was letting us know that it stemmed from this angst, if you will, that the enslaved people had about that time between December 31st and January 1st.
But keep in mind, though, this angst has so much up and down flow. Whether or not you're being left behind or your family is leaving you because of a debt that someone owes, and it's not because of you, it's because of them. And because you're owned by these persons, you get shipped off.
So I guess that's why we have that tradition of cleaning up your house and making sure your clothes are clean, because if you gotta go, you want to take all your stuff with you. So
if you can. So, Maurice, all those years that you were cleaning up, you thought you were cleaning so that the house could be clean. Right. But it was tradition from us not knowing where we were going to lay our heads the next day. So we had to clean it up and pack it up. Right. Well, not necessarily pack it up, but at least clean it up and have everything ready so that if we were to be shipped out, that we have our stuff
together. So that was just some of the information that we were reading. And again, with it being watch night, like you were watchful of what was going on, how much movement was going on in the land. I remember in some stories and things that I have read in the past where people would say they would keep one of the watchmen would keep their ear to the ground.
Right.
And the ear to the ground was to listen for horse and for footsteps, because it let them know that, hey, someone's coming, and that means somebody's going to be leaving us.
Right.
So, that it's just a different outlook on things. But to get into the watch night service portion of things, I think you took me to my first true watch night service when we were dating. We went to a little church in South Philly, and that's when I first heard and understood the watchman, what time is it?
Right.
And they went through all of that, and then they had the knocking and all of those things. We did the traditional Christian part of praying into it as well.
Right.
But that was the first time, and I haven't really experienced it again like that since. I think another service that we had that was a little bit different was at a little church we went to in North Philadelphia, where the pastor washed everyone's feet so their feet would be clean as they stepped into the new year. So those were some, traditions, if you will, that people have within the African American culture as we bring in the new year. So do you have any others that you have experienced, Maurice?
No, I think I have not where anything that really stands out. I think the one where, like you said, the one in North Philly where the pastor. See, it wasn't just a minister. It was actually the pastor of the church who had washed our feet. And that was the most interesting experience I ever had. And his explanation was Christ being a servant. And how are you to be on this pedestal and not being able to lower yourself or humble yourself enough to wash someone's feet? And if anyone remembers the scripture where Christ washes somebody's feet, please make it fit. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, put it, respond. Let us know what's going on. If you know what scripture that really is. But that was my one experience that really put a different perspective on just being humble and being a servant. Not necessarily for that related to, because I don't think that really related too much to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, as much as it was going into the new year. Remember, humbling yourself and keeping in mind that, hey, Christ was this. This is who you need to be.
Right.
As long as you're a servant, as long as you're humble, as long as you're giving, let's keep that in mind as we go into the new year. As far as the other pieces of, just as you stated, someone announcing the Watchmen, that was a consistent thing. Again, it just was not fully explained,
right,
or not explained in a manner where I could understand. For an example, my home church, my pastor changed when I was 12 years old, right? So in the AME church, pastors can stay there for quite some time. It could be as short as a year, or a couple months, to 30 years. And they're normally moved by the bishop. So my first pastor was there for 12 years, and then the next pastor, he was there for like another 10 to 12. And the thing was, I believe the pastor that had come in when I was 12, Reverend Eugene E. McEshan, I believe when he had first walked in, he explained, but I was 12 years old.
Right.
I probably do not, I can almost guarantee I did not understand what he was talking about. I can almost guarantee that. Or probably wasn't even interested.
Right.
Let's be all the way honest.
So I guess my question to our listening audience, a lot of times we have sacraments that we do in church, some traditional things we do in church, such as Holy Communion, the Eucharist. Like we take that, but there's scripture based behind it. There's some explanation to it, so that there's some background to it.
Right.
That those who are new can say, oh, okay, this is where it's coming from. Within the AME church, they certainly have a discipline and a doctrine, some kind of manual that they look at and read during that time. Some other churches kind of just have the preacher explain why they're doing communion. But for watch night service, we don't do that. So I guess my question out to the community is, is that something that would help? Again, this is a No Fruit podcast. We're trying to help you grow your fruit. So if you had a watch night service and you explained to people what the purpose of it was, what the history of it was, would that be helpful to people? Because so many folks nowadays, Maurice and I, you were talking the other day, like, oh, it's so violent out there. I don't want to go out to church at 10 o'clock at night and not come out to 1. I don't know. It's shots being fired and it's bullets here and this is this riffraff and that and so forth and going. But I think if we had a better understanding of what the purpose of it was, then it would not just be, oh, it's just another church service.
But I think, unfortunately, when you think about church right now, people are not attending services like that 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, because of what I was stating in that conversation. How violent it could be, how scary it could be at night. And I'm saying that because when you think about church right now, is a lot of our seasoned saints there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lot of young people. So a lot of the young people who might be able to help protect, help walk with them to their cars or walk them around the corner, things like that, you don't have that anymore. So there are a lot of churches, what I've noticed, who did not even have a service this year. And so, and I believe every generation that passes by, they become less and less informed about the importance of a New Year's Eve service, the importance of Juneteenth, things like that.
Right.
And I understand that there are some things or ideas, ideals, images that people want to erase. Hey, that was, what you're talking about of selling people off and things like that, that happened over 100 years ago. In essence, on a block like that, in essence, yes, but there's still very similar forms of that happening today. When you think about getting drafted, they talk about that a lot. Is that an auction block? They talk about stuff like that. It's just in a different form.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe there are ways to grow that knowledge and share it. And there's a lot of times though, the best way to get the information out there is word of mouth. The quickest way would be social media, but some people, people just scroll by it.
And like you said, everyone's not on social media.
Right.
So if 50% of your churchgoers are elderly,
right,
and they're not in tuned, or a portion of them are in tuned, then how much of that information is getting out? So again, ways to get information, back when I was growing up and when I did go to church in middle school, high school, we had class leaders, and that's how information kind of was shared. You had someone who would call you up and tell you what was going on at church. So again, I think, how do you grow the church? How do people know about this information? Hey, we got this podcast. We just shared it with you.
Right.
So hopefully you'll share this podcast and this information with someone else so that people will understand, hey, the history of or additional information around why there is a watch night service, why it's more than just a New Year's Eve service, why it's more than just another church service, that we as African Americans have been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Well, I think what happens, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I think as I'm listening to you, when you talk about, hey, it's not just another church service.
Mm-hmm.
I think, unfortunately, we get too caught up in, yes, we need another service so we can have another opportunity of bringing in some more offering. But it's not necessarily put out there like, we need these moments of fellowship together.
Mm-hmm. I think New Year's Eve for most of the churchgoers that I have talked with this past couple years, New Year's Eve services is a church party. I don't party out there in the world, so I'm going to go to church and party.
So even with that, that's still losing the message. Right.
And I'm just letting you know, so I don't know that it's a church service to, hey, we have to raise more money. It's just, hey, I like to party. I like to go out. I'm going to go out with Jesus. So, I mean, and I can say, I know that I've gone out with my daughter for, a friend of hers was going to a New Year's Eve service. They didn't call it watch night service. It was a New Year's Eve service. And all it was a concert. I mean, the lights was flashing.
Right.
It was dark in there. It was a stage, and they brought different singers. I mean, we stopped and had corporate prayer with the pastor, but overall it was a production for the young people. They had Christian rappers, they had singers, all of those things.
And see, I think that's where the line is, where it's a real thin line, because some people might say, no, it's a real thick line, but I think it's a real thin line between what people might say the church versus the world.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, how else are you going to attract young people? And that's the question. because you can get lost in, as you're stating, the lights and the loud music and all that type of stuff where you turn into one big concert. I think there's a time and place for everything. The watch night service itself, I don't know. I think that's more of a cultural conversation, to be honest.
That and a generational one as well. And I was not, because it was not called a watch night service, I was not expecting watch night type of an atmosphere. It was, a
just
phrase,
a New Year's Eve service.
Yeah, in New Year's. Well, I don't even know if it was called service. I don't remember, but yeah, it was a New Year's Eve celebration, service, if you will. So, and I'm okay with that. Like you said, there's a time and a place for everything.
Right.
So for who that was geared to, which was high schoolers, it was fine. They weren't out in the street doing something else. The message was clear. It was, truly Christian based.
Right.
Everyone was fully dressed. I can't say, hey, they were
like they were going to a party.
Right. No, everybody. I mean, it was still wintertime, so.
Right. I mean, but I think so this is where we lose the historic part of this. Mm-hmm. Even though you're saying, hey, they had an opportunity for corporate prayer, but as for what we're talking about right now,
right,
they weren't partying.
No.
Now, if you look at it from the perspective of, hey, we're waiting for January 1st, 1863. No, it probably was a party because they're thinking, oh, no, we're about to be free. Right. We don't have to worry about this auction block anymore and all that type of stuff. But guess what? It still happened. It happened after that.
Yeah.
So the image didn't necessarily, the whole process didn't necessarily go all the way away. Mm-mm. It's just that it was put into a different forms.
Because everyone didn't get the message.
Right.
So, again, share this information so that we all can have a better understanding. Again, the Bible says, our people perish because they just don't know.
Right.
So we have to educate to some degree and so that we know better.
Right.
And then when we know better, we can do better.
Do better. Right.
So.
So, y'all, it's about that time.
Uh-oh.
And, we got a lot of information for y'all this coming year. We really do. We have a lot of topics, a lot of interesting viewpoints. We're going to have a lot of guests.
Yay.
And, we really appreciate what y'all are doing for this media and for this type of show to come out. Kaf and I, yes, we're talking about it. What our viewpoint is, for this type of these topics, be sure to engage with us. We would love to hear what y'all have to say. We would love for y'all to like, share, and subscribe to any and every channel we're on. And like I said, and let's emphasize share, because some of this information needs to get out there one way or the other. And yes, the podcast is called the No Fruit Podcast, but it's the mindset. What are we doing? Actually, we're bearing fruit. So I don't want the title to throw you off that much. Like, oh, what are these people talking about? No, we're trying to educate. We're trying to discuss some of the things that affects our Christian brothers and sisters across the globe.
And the premise of it all, if you don't know your fruit, that's with the KNOW, then you will have no fruit.
Right.
So if you don't know your church and your church members and you don't know what's going on out there, then your church is not going to prosper. Your ministry is not going to prosper. So we're just here to talk a little bit about what's going on.
Right.
So if you have any topics or issues that you would like for us to talk about and present, again, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we'll follow up with you. Again, Happy New Year to you all. We wish you the best and the most blessed year in this 2020. We hope that your vision is made clear.
And we love y'all.
We love you.
Peace.
And God loves you more. Bye-bye.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.